This NBA playoffs with FanDuel, you're not just watching the playoffs, you're a part of them.
Steve's got the phone, opens FanDuel, and he's going for threes.
Be a part of the action on FanDuel. All customers get a profit boost every NBA playoff game day. 21 plus and present in select states. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET.
There's no one like you, and there never will be.
From the producer of Bohemian Rhapsody, there are many legends, but there is only one. Michael, rated PG-13, in theaters April 24.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Hey, this is Marcy from 95.5 KLOS. You're listening to Jay Scott, the Hook Rocks podcast.
What you want, everybody knows that you're with somebody else. Oh, my conscience, so she's telling me to move on along, but your hands keep me shimmering. Everybody knows you wonder, but nobody goes. No, we don't see the forks down the line. Where you gonna get it? Come on, tell me who's gonna make your body move.
What's happening, everyone? How's everybody doing? Hope everyone's enjoying their weekend. Once again, this is The Hook Rocks, and I am your host, Jay Scott, taking you on another rock and roll journey with another great interview today. I think you're all going to enjoy it with a great up-and-coming new band. Before we begin, I'd just like to remind everyone we are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, the network of music podcasts. Please go ahead and listen to all the Hook Rocks episodes, old and new. You can check out previous episodes featuring some great new bands out there like Joyous Wolf and Dirty Honey and South of Eden and Massive Wagons and Joe Satriani, as well as some great music commentary and some of the new stuff we've been doing here as well, like another interview with George Lynch, a third time we've had him on the show, Rick Allen from Def Leppard. We just had The Damn Truth on, which is a great new music spotlight showcase, and got to know them a little bit, as well as some interesting commentary, too, as well. We talked about the evolution and legacy of Def Leppard. We've talked about NFT and cryptocurrency and how it's going to affect rock music and music in general. So some really great stuff for all of you to enjoy. I hope you do go check it out. Subscribe to us wherever you podcast. Write us a review wherever you want or whenever you want or however you want. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, look for our Instagram page dropping soon. That is going to be exciting. And again, check out Pantheon Pods at Pantheon Pods on Twitter, pantheonpodcast.com. You can check out, again, the Hook Rocks podcast, as well as many others like Carmen Apiece and Vinny Appice with their Hangin' and Bangin' podcast, Mistress Carrie, Shout Out Loudcast, Cobras and Fire, Martin Popoff, the rock historian, and many, many others. So go check it out. The next band here featured on the New Music Spotlight is a band that I've known about for quite a while. They've been kind of working their thing, doing their thing, recording some music, and it's a combination of a few different bands all wrapped into one. Their new single dropped here this past week, and it is a phenomenal tune with a great melody and a great hook, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's a really upbeat tune. It's a lot of fun, which is what we need in today's world because everyone's so stressed out about everything that's happening and what's going on. It's nice to have a song where you can kind of forget about life for a while and just tune in and just rock out. So I'd like to welcome from the Hot Dam, the drummer, Josie O'Toole. What's going on, Josie? How are you?
Hey, good, thank you. Yeah, loving life. How are you?
Doing well. Happy to have you on. Happy to learn more about you and the band and where you guys are headed. So I'm really excited.
Us too. We're coming your way, so look out.
Uh-oh. What does that mean?
I don't know. We want to get everywhere and anywhere as soon as we're allowed to. So, yeah, I mean, we'd absolutely love to get over to the States sometime. So look out.
Yes. That makes me really excited to hear that, because I hope you guys and a lot of other bands over there are able at some point to get over to the States, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to do so. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
We shall see, never say never,
Absolutely.
Strange things happen. Stranger things have happened, especially over the past few years. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, we always begin the same way every time we have a first-time guest on the Hook Rocks, and that is the essence of the show. Just like every rock song has a hook that sucks you in, every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, a band, an album, or performance that hooked them on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, do you know what? I think it's probably at the age of about 14. I grew up in a very boring town where there was not a lot to do at all. And but the local pub kind of became a bit like a youth centre, and they'd let us sneak in, and as long as we weren't getting too out of hand. So we'd all go there on a Saturday night, and there'd always be all like bands playing. It was just like a sweaty little pub, but there'd be bands playing. Some would be cover bands, some would be original bands. And I think it was just like watching those bands and just feeling the pure energy whilst drinking a Diet Coke on a Saturday night. There was just something about it that just sparked in my brain. And like the next week I went out and bought a drum kit. And a year later we played our first gig at one of those sweaty pubs. So yeah, I think it was just that moment of like being immersed in it and just seeing it and seeing the reaction and the energy of it all. And yeah, most people grow out of it when they get into their 20s or they get a real job or whatever. Some people just keep on doing it. And I think that's kind of why we're here talking today. So yeah.
That's awesome. What were some of your early influences on the drums?
Do you know what? Like, I think it was kind of the bands that were breaking at the time that I bought my drum kit that were the ones I was trying to like emulate and learn to drum along to. So Feeder were one of the first bands. Unfortunately, their drummer passed, but yeah, like that kind of thing. Blink 182, obviously Travis Barker, absolute gun. So trying to keep up with him when you're just learning your instrument was probably a little bit ambitious, but definitely gave something to aspire to. Stereophonics. I don't know if you had to have them over in the States.
Oh yeah,
but yeah. I mean, they were a great band. I mean, again, unfortunately, their drummer passed. But just in terms of being accessible and learning how to kind of drum to the song and learning that sometimes just playing a straight 4/4 is all the song needs. And so it's kind of cool when you hear a band that's on the radio and that's all that's happening in the drums. So you can actually play the drum part that they're playing, and it's a really good kind of gateway, I guess, into the world of drumming. And then you kind of learn a few bits and bobs and challenge yourself a bit more. But yeah, just kind of all the bands that were kind of breaking around the 2000s were the bands that were my main influences, and still listen to all those today. Obviously you expand your horizons a bit, but I think like there's something about the music that you grow up with that means you've always got a soft spot for it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything that you hear when you're younger, you always come back to. You may stray a little bit, you may go out and listen to some other things, but eventually you'll be back. You'll come through the door again.
Absolutely.
As far as drumming, you mentioned some influences. You mentioned, being immersed in music. When was it apparent that you wanted to get on stage and be in a band?
Well, I think like playing drums on their own is actually quite boring. Like just drumming for drumming's sake. I kind of much prefer drumming in the context of a band setting than actually just sitting there playing on my own. So it was always kind of the goal as soon as I started to play drums. I've got 3 brothers, and so that was quite handy because one of my brother's friends was in a band and they were looking for a drummer. So 3 months after buying a drum kit, they were that desperate that they asked me to drum in the band. So, kind of straight away got the chance to kind of do it with other people and enjoy creating together. So yeah, we played our first gig a few weeks later, and thank God social media and smartphones wasn't a thing then, because luckily there's no record of it or evidence anywhere. Yeah, I mean, the buzz is just there, and then from then on it was just like, let's play more gigs, onwards and upwards, and yeah, like I said, just kind of never really stopped. There always was just something on the horizon and something happening, and if there wasn't, you make it happen. So yeah,
it's drums can be, is all about presentation too. I mean, obviously you've got to, you're basically the core of the band, you and the bass player. I mean, it all starts with the drums, right? And the beat and the rhythm section. But it's also presentation too as well. I mean, you think of drummers that, basically come out of their kit, meaning that you can see them and you can feel their energy. You think of, people like Tommy Lee. You think of the pounding rhythms like John Bonham. What do you try to do to bring that your drumming front and center when you're performing?
Well, I mean, I always kind of think, the performance is about the whole, and everyone just being themselves and doing what they do. So it's never really been a conscious thing. It's just been a whack 'em like they've really, really, really pissed you off, and go for gold. I eat a lot of chocolate, and it's my 45 minutes of exercise to make the most of it. So I just kind of go for gold and hit every beat like it's your last is kind of my philosophy. And I mean, I'm looked after very, very well by Natal Drums, and they lent me this kit for a video, and I've ended up kind of stealing it. And the kit just kind of speaks for itself. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It looks like a giant watermelon. I don't know if you've seen the video for Dance Around, but yes. It's kind of like turquoise fade, and I've put Evans hydraulic bright pinky red skins on it. So the drum kit is the center of attention. I think, like, it just looks amazing, and I'm just there kind of whacking them and doing my worst.
As far as the band goes, it's a collection of members of other bands. You guys left your other bands that you were in. You guys started the Hot Damn. How did that all come about? What's the history for you guys?
Oh, do you want the long version or the short version?
Let's do the long version. Why not?
Okay, so the long version was, I was living in Australia for about 10 years, and was in a band over there called Tequila Mockingbird, and we were doing the rounds all over Australia, playing all over the place and doing lots of very cool things. And we kind of always had it in our sights to get over to Europe and tour one day, but never really thought it would happen. But we were kind of had one ear to the ground, and from the distance, the other side of the planet, we were kind of quietly observing what was going on over in the UK rock scene. And we heard of this band called the Amorettes and saw them doing amazing things, and were fans of the band, and we were doing our thing in Australia, they were doing their thing over here. And then in 2016 we got the chance to come over to the UK from Australia and tour. So we all basically chucked in our day jobs and bought one-way tickets and came over here. So I'm from England originally, and I'd just been in Australia for several years. And the other two girls in the band, Estelle and Jess, they were from Australia. So yeah, we all kind of took the leap of faith and moved over here, and camped out in my mum's attic, and did a tour all over the UK and Europe, which was amazing. Sometimes life gets in the way, and being in a band requires a lot of sacrifice and a lot of stars to align. And unfortunately, Jess and Estelle couldn't do it longer term, and for their own reasons, went back to Australia. And we carried on. We actually carried on because we had like lots of commitments and gigs. So replaced those members, and we carried on for another couple of years. And then it got to a point that myself and Jacinta, the new bass player, we were looking for a new singer because it just wasn't working out. And just so happened at the same time, so the Amorettes had been going on and doing amazing things, playing all over Europe and smashing it basically. And then just kind of out of the blue, I got a message from the singer in the Amorettes one day. She was aware that we were looking for a singer-guitarist, and she basically just said, look, we haven't announced it yet, but we're going to be looking for a bass player and a drummer very shortly. I know you're looking for a singer-guitarist. There's something there, It's just a mad coincidence that right at the same point in time, we both were looking for members, and they were the opposite members to what each other needed. So we had a good chat about things, and we decided for the whole of 2019 to honour both sets of gigs. So the Amorettes obviously had lots of shows booked for that year. Tequila Mockingbird had loads of shows booked. So we decided to combine the two bands, the bass player and myself from Tequila, and Jill on vocals and guitar, and honour all of the Amorettes gigs as the Amorettes, and honour all of the Tequila Mockingbird gigs as Tequila Mockingbird. So that was an amazing experience. We also got Laurie Buchanan in on guitar, who was an absolute gun guitarist who we'd kind of seen around the traps, and we thought if we're mixing things up, we might as well, try out having two guitars in the band, because we always kind of wanted to have that extra kind of oomph to the sound. So yeah, for 2019, that's what we did. And then it, got towards the end of 2019, and everyone's like, well, what are you doing now? Are you booking more gigs as both bands? Are you going to just drop one band and become the other band? Or are you going to start completely afresh? Or are you going to give up playing altogether? And we were in a very fortunate position in that we'd had a year to kind of, spend it on the road together, because you never quite know your bandmates until you spent a year on the road with them. So we'd had an absolute blast, and we decided it just felt right at that point to just start something completely fresh and new. And that's kind of when the Hot Damn was born. We decided we wanted to do something. Obviously 2020 hit. We were quite fortunate in the grand scheme of things, because obviously we were going to be spending that year starting again and writing and building from the ground again. So it was almost a gift to us in a way, because we kind of had that year without any pressure to get out on the road straight away or anything, to kind of work on everything behind the scenes and write and get everything together. So that is the long version of how the Hot Damn was born. We obviously needed a bass player, because Jacinta, the Tequila bass player, moved back to Australia, and that's where Lizzie came into the picture, who just happened to live down the road from me. And we kind of kept bumping into each other and talking music, and she was down and completely bonkers, and that's what we need. So she jumped on board. So that's kind of how it all came together.
Was it always the intention to have a completely new identity and not, use one of the aforementioned bands previously, like, Tequila Mockingbird or the Amorettes? Was it always the intention to go and rebrand yourself and rename yourself?
No, we literally didn't know what we were going to do going into 2019, when we were doing the shows as both bands. Every single gig, people will be like, oh, what are you going to do? Are you going to merge each band? And they were like, are you going to be called the Amaretto Tequila Mockingbirds? What, how are you going to do this? What's the plan? And we didn't know. We were like, at the moment, we are fulfilling all the Tequila Mockingbird gigs, fulfilling all the Amorettes gigs. We'll see how it goes, and we'll make our mind up once it feels right. And sometimes I think you've just got to trust your gut instinct. And by the end of the year, all of our gut was saying, look, this has been cool. really amazing playing, how we've been playing, for different bands and doing all of this. But all of us felt like we wanted to start something new and fresh, and that was everybody's, rather than anyone feeling like they were playing in someone else's band, or, Tequila Mockingbird were an Australian band. So it was just a very kind of confusing thing to explain to people why this Australian band had Scottish accents. And the same with the Amorettes. They were a Scottish band. So kind of, it just felt like the right thing to do by the end of the year. And it wasn't even a conscious decision. It was just like that's made its own decision for us. And then it was just about, right, where do we go next? And how do we do it? And what do we do? And again, it's all just kind of very, very naturally come together without really thinking about it too much. Even like the colour, we'd both come from, we'd all come from like bands that were kind of rock and rolly type bands, leather jacket, black jeans, black boots kind of thing. And it wasn't even really a conscious decision, I think, to move away from that. It was just kind of a joke that just got a bit carried away. We started doing tie-dye and everyone absolutely loved it. We did not think that people would be into that. And I think just after a really bleak, boring year, the more ridiculous we got, the more we enjoyed it and the more people responded to it. So it was like, sweet, this is what we do. We just prance around like idiots and have a good time. And, I think that's what everybody needs right now.
The new song is Dance Around. The video dropped earlier this week. I think it was July 1st when it dropped. Just a fantastic song, fantastic energy. The band is the Hot Damn. One thing I did notice, as you did mention with the video, was the color, was the energy of the song. I mean, you could feel it through the screen when you're watching it. It's very reminiscent, especially the color and the scheme of the energy is very reminiscent to those old British, glam bands like T-Rex and Sweet and stuff like that. And, it really does capture that energy of that past in a modern sense too. I wouldn't say it sounds like it's got, the influence of that. It's your own sound. It's a modern sound, but that energy, like you said, really does shine, and the colors really kind of bring out fun, which is, let's face it, not a lot of people have had a lot of fun over the last year and a half.
Exactly.
And it's very refreshing to see that.
Oh, well, thank you. Like when you do something for the first time, you never quite know how it's going to turn out. And, we knew we wanted colour, we knew we wanted sparkles, we knew we wanted a glitter curtain, we knew we wanted it to be ridiculous. But we kind of didn't even have any points of reference really to show the videographers or anything, and we just kind of went and did it. And luckily, I think they completely got where we were trying to go with it, and we got the first edit back, and we were just like, nailed it. Like that's exactly what we were trying to do, is just have a good time and just be a bit of fun and be ourselves, and not try too hard. And it's come out great. We couldn't be happier, really.
Is that the direction the band is headed, into that fun type of vibe, and kind of get off your butt and start moving and start dancing, start having a good time? Is that what you guys really want to go after?
Oh, 100%. Because I think rock's got very serious lately. Like I don't know why. I don't. But there's a lot of bands that are incredible bands out there, but a lot of them are quite serious, and and that's across the board in pop as well. Pop's got very serious. I remember pop in the olden days was like Venga Boys and Aqua and all these just fun, ridiculous bands, and now it's a lot more, taking itself seriously, and we just want to have a good time. We've done what we've done, and we have been pent up indoors for 18 months nearly, and we just kind of want to, what's the point in doing it if you're not having a good time doing it? And different people find different things fun, and we find dancing around with inflated bananas fun. So that's what we're going to do. And like I said, the more we weren't quite sure how this was going to go down, because everything we've done before was a little bit heavier and a little bit more serious. So we thought, are people going to buy into this, or are they going to think we've lost the plot? But at the end of the day, we didn't really mind what they thought, because at the end of the day, it was something we were proud of and something we enjoyed doing. So you can't lose when you've enjoyed it and you're proud of it. It's kind of, you put it out into the world, and if other people like it too, amazing, because you're kind of given something to someone that's going to, improve their day. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. But as long as you're proud of it and you've enjoyed making it, you just can't lose. And hopefully other people enjoy it too. And so far the reaction's been amazing. And can't complain about anything.
What was the collaborative process like? I mean, you guys are all coming from different directions, right? And you're all coming into one place, and you start to collaborate with each other, and everything's new. And that's exciting in itself when you have the newness of everything. But, you obviously left another band, or had to, part ways with members of the previous band, as pretty much everyone in the band did. And now you're all meeting as one. How did those initial jams, those initial, collaborations start to make you feel like this is a home now? This is something that is working.
That's a really interesting question. So, you kind of have your way of doing things, and like both Jill and I had kind of only ever really been in one band. We kind of had our way of writing within those bands. I mean, I think in the Amorettes, Jill did quite a lot of the writing, almost all, if not all the writing. So she, I don't quite know exactly what their process was, but I guess she essentially wrote the songs, and then they came together to turn them into band songs rather than just demos or whatever. Whereas in Tequila Mockingbird, it had always been a little bit more like someone would send an idea around on a voice memo or whatever, and then someone else would work on it, and we'd kind of end up structuring a song via text message, and then we'd get to a rehearsal and then kind of play it all live, and we'd probably then start playing it at gigs probably far sooner than we should have, when we were still writing it really, and it would get tweaked when someone would make a mistake and it would actually improve the song or whatever. And so we'd be playing them live for like a year before we even recorded any of them. So going into a new band where the approach had been so different, we kind of had to find a new groove and a new way of doing things. And it was a really cool collaborative process in the end. And it was really nice because everybody has had an impact on this song. It's not one song that someone came to us as a fully completed song. And I think because of that, we all feel really kind of attached to it and involved in it. And, started off with Jill, had a demo that she'd put in the band Dropbox. And she kind of was like, oh, I'm not sure about that one, might put it in the bin, and Laurie and I listened to it and we were like, nah, that one's really grabbed us. Like, we really like the kind of, the melody of the chorus kind of thing, but it didn't really have any words. I'd sent Jill some words for a different song, and she'd kind of been scatting them over the top of the verse chords. But it was all a bit blah, blah, blahry. And I think Laurie had listened to it and then picked out some of those words that she liked and then kind of made a story out of it and came back with that. And then we went up to Scotland where Jill lives and actually kind of demoed it in the studio with Jill. And then we jammed it down near London with Lizzie and the bass player and like all together. And that was when we were like, oh, it needs a stop in there. That was Lizzie's idea. And then we were doing some more demos and I was like, oh, it needs some ooze in there. And then Laurie put all the jangly guitars in that made it just a bit more kind of poppy and not just a straight out rock song. And then sent it over to the producer that Tequila Mockingbird used in Australia. He's an absolute legend of a producer. He's called Ricky Ray, and sent it to him, and he made a couple of tiny suggestions that just kind of, added that extra bit of oomph. And then we went and recorded it with Adam Thistlethwaite from Massive Wagons. We went up to their unit and recorded with him, and also Dave Draper. I did the drums with him. Then sent it over to Oz to be mixed by Ricky. And ultimately we were all really, really happy with the end result because it was all of our babies, and it started from a little nugget that Jill had plopped in the Dropbox, and everyone kind of had a little bit of added their little bit of themselves to it, and we're all super happy with how it's turned out. So we just need to do 10 more of them and call it an album, and away we go.
When is more music coming from you guys? I mean, when, is there an album? Is there an EP? What can we expect?
Well, we're working on stuff. Like, we've got many song ideas in the Dropbox that are all being scrubbed up at the moment. It's a little bit complicated at the moment with we all work full time and we all live all across the UK. We're not all in one place, and obviously with lockdown and travel restrictions, it's been a lot harder than it normally would be to kind of all get together and actually spend the time. But it's all simmering away in the background. We've got a few that we're kind of nearly there with, and we're going to be starting to gig next month. So those will be fully scrubbed and ready to rumble. And yeah, we're not sure if it's going to be an EP or an album we're working towards at this stage. We kind of thought we'd put the first song out there just to announce our arrival and take it from there and see what happens. Like I said, it's all kind of very naturally and organically progressed thus far. So we're just hoping that kind of continues. And we haven't got a definite game plan in our mind as to whether it's an album or an EP. We'll just see how it progresses and what feels right, and take it from there.
How difficult was that to communicate, to be a band, during COVID with the restrictions on travel and being all over the place in the UK? How tough was that to hang on to everybody? Because, it is a difficult time, and it's a struggle for a lot of people, especially a new band. That's a huge challenge in itself. So how did you guys overcome that?
Well, I think everybody's had their challenges this year, whether you're in a band that's been going for 10 years or you're a brand new band that's never played a gig. I think it's been the same for everyone. Everyone's had their own struggles outside of bands, just dealing with what the last 18 months has thrown at everybody. And then in addition to that, obviously, starting a band from scratch it's been hard work, not going to lie, especially living so apart from each other, because getting together, we might only get a weekend here and there, and you've really got to kind of make the most of it. So it's not like a normal band where even when you are allowed to meet up, you can just meet up once a week and jam and let things naturally progress. Like, we do really have to kind of plan things and make a conscious effort to make the most of our time together, when all you really want to do, having not seen anyone for a year, is just hang out and get drunk. You haven't, because we're friends at the end of the day, and so as soon as Jill flies down, we really have to kick our own asses to get into the studio and actually be productive before we can have too much fun, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily been any harder for us than it has been for anyone. It's everybody's got their challenges, and you just got to make it work, haven't you? There's nothing anybody can do about it other than make the best of it, and that's what we've been trying to do. And and that's kind of why we've been trying to be really active on social media as well, because in the absence of music coming out anytime towards the beginning of our inception as a band, it doesn't mean we weren't doing things as a band. We were trying to get everything off the ground and trying to raise a bit of money to actually do the recording and do the videos. So we thought, everyone's just sat around twiddling their thumbs at the moment. Why not document as much as we can of the whole process, so they can kind of see that we haven't just announced the band and aren't doing anything. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. So we've tried to document as much of, the recording, the writing, even, the merch. I touched on it earlier about making the tie-dye t-shirts and stuff. And we thought we might as well just, share as much of the journey as possible, because there's not much else to do at the moment. So if it entertains people, then we might as well put it out there, because we ain't playing gigs right now, and it's something, and sometimes something's better than nothing.
Absolutely. You guys have the tour with the Dust Coda coming up here later this year, which is a kick-ass bill, because their album that they released last, was it the winter or was it early spring, whenever it was, it's a monster album, and it's a great bill to be a part of. How did that come about?
Oh, absolutely. And, we're super, super grateful to the guys for kind of taking the chance on us. So, we saw the tour was announced, and we just basically shot them a message, and we're like, hey, guys, we know we're not really a band yet, and we know you've never heard any of our music, but take us on tour with you. And they were like, yeah, but can you give us anything? So we did send them like the demo of the song, and we did try and at least show them, evidence that people would come to the shows, and that hopefully we could bring something to the table, in terms of, we've just been so lucky with the support that's come from the previous bands. You've kind of shown their faith in what we're doing, and before we'd even released any music, they were already buying our merch and repping our merch, around the place, and posting pictures and selfies of them in their ridiculous tie-dye, having a good time. So we kind of used all of this towards our case to the Dust Coder, being like, yeah, we don't have any songs yet, but here you go, we've got fans, maybe. And massive credit to the guys, and our eternal gratitude that they took a chance on it. And really, really looking forward to that, because I saw them. They were playing a live stream a couple of weeks ago, and I was just helping out with some of the behind the scenes stuff there. And honest to God, one of the best live bands I've seen, like absolute, goosebump moments throughout the set. So that's definitely going to be an amazing way to hit the ground running, going on a tour with a band of that caliber. So really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's a sensational tour. I hope when you guys do come to the States, you come with them, because that would be an awesome bill to see, because I love that band.
I'll suggest it. We'll make it happen.
Put it in the suggestion box.
Now that Brexit's happened, it might actually mean more bands go over to the States, because I think in the past it was so easy to get over to Europe and inexpensive that a lot of bands were like, well, we might as well go conquer Europe before we start thinking about further afield. But now Brexit's happened, I think touring Europe's going to be a bit of a nightmare. So if you're going to go overseas, it's going to be hard work and expensive. So it's almost like, well, the States is kind of no different to going to Germany now, really, in terms of the paperwork and logistics and visas and stuff. So, it's almost more likely that we'll do it now than maybe before Brexit happened. So, yeah, like I said, look out.
Well, that was my next topic with you, because there was news this past week with Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden appearing on Sky News. And, local to America, we've all heard about Brexit. We all familiar with what transpired, and the long, process that it took to finally get separation. And, a lot of people were predicting, different types of struggles and different types of challenges as a result. And a lot of people didn't really think that. And a lot of people believed in what wasn't to be. And Bruce Dickinson made a lot of news, and like, hey, a lot of people were saying this prior to it, yet people like him voted for it. And now, now we have these challenges that could have all been avoided. What exactly is going on, to explain to American fans or fans in other countries about why all of a sudden it is now difficult to move back and forth from Europe to the UK because of Brexit?
Well, I think everyone's still trying to work out exactly what it means. Basically, the UK narrowly voted to leave the European Union. When we were part of the European Union, it basically meant you could work in any European Union country without a visa. So, if you were going over to France or Germany, you could just go over there and tour there and not have to worry about paperwork or importing merch or anything like that. Whereas now that we've voted to leave, we are now a completely kind of distinct economical unit versus Europe and the European countries. So if we do want to go and work there, if you're taking part in paid employment in another country, you basically have to apply for a working visa to do so. And for bands that are kind of emerging and going into a new territory for the first time and trying to establish a fan base, you're lucky to break even on a tour, the first time you go somewhere new, as it is, by the time you've paid your crew, hired a van, paid for hotels, petrol, etc. When you haven't got a big fan base, that's tight enough as is. But then if you then go and add on the admin and the cost of visas and carnets and all sorts, suddenly a tour that just about was going to break even is now thousands into the red. And it's just impossible to justify that. I don't think anyone really knows the true impact yet, because no bands have really had the opportunity to go and tour Europe yet because of COVID, obviously. So, there's a lot of kind of hearsay and rumours and are we, aren't we, etc., etc. There's still some fine tuning happening. There's still negotiations happening. I think now you can tour Iceland without a visa, and it's like, great, yep, because that's one of the key touring territories. Not, they've managed to negotiate all these random countries that you can tour to now, but it is just so detached from reality. And unfortunately, I think the last year has proven how detached the government is from the arts, and especially the live music scene, because it just seems to have been completely buried and forgotten. And it's just a mammoth shame that there hasn't been anybody who's been able to speak up for musicians or for music and have any influence or power. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Marcus Rashford and what happened in the UK with him. He's a famous footballer over here, and he managed to campaign for kids to get free school lunches, because obviously during lockdown they were all at home, and normally kids from low income families, they get free school lunches, but because of lockdown, kids have been doing homeschooling, etc. And during the school holidays, the government said it wasn't going to provide that support in any way, shape or form. And he managed to basically lobby the government single-handedly to get them to overturn that decision and actually provide that support, and which is obviously super, super important in these crazy times. But in music, it just seems like just everyone's just fallen through the net. Venues, tech, bands, everybody, and there just seems to have been not one single voice or one single body with the power or influence to actually get the government to sit up and listen and realise what a dire state the arts are in. And so unfortunately, even though you can have a football match with 45,000 people in the crowd with no social distancing, there's outdoor festivals getting cancelled even now, and it just does not compute. And I don't know the rationale or the reasoning, and I think everyone feels pretty powerless to do anything about it. Luckily, immunisations are going well, and the hope is that all restrictions will be gone by this time next month. But it's been a pretty dire year for the arts in general, and Brexit has just been the icing on the cake. And like I said, I don't think anyone's really quite aware of the true impact yet, because no one's had the chance to actually test out how it is to do a tour in Europe under the new Brexit restrictions, because Brexit has kind of been the least of our worries when you're not even allowed to get on a plane.
It's very similar to what was happening in the States last year and even early parts of this year, where there was so many inconsistencies, right? In terms of rules and regulations. You can do this, you can't do that. You can, you can go here, but you can't go there. And I think to a person who understands how serious the pandemic is, we do know there needs to be restrictions, right? We do know that we need to wear masks and 6 feet, distance between each other, and, not overcrowd. And we all understood it. And I think for the most part, everybody agreed with what needed to be done. I think the frustrating thing for everyone, and it sounds like it's the same in the UK, is, you don't know, okay, why is this state this way? Why are some people doing this and some people that? And that was really frustrating, because it feels then, that there are special privileges given to certain entities and certain businesses and certain areas. And maybe that's the case, maybe not, but it gives that perception that there is, and that adds to the frustration. The other,
Absolutely, yeah.
the other thing is that you mentioned about the arts and about how the government in the UK has basically forgotten about the importance of arts, whether it's music, whether it's plays, whether it's whatever the case. And it's also very similar to what happened here in the U.S. We had an organization called Save Our Stages, which was fighting for these venues. And what people don't understand, when you hear, people saying we need financial aid for these venues, these local venues in towns across America, what they don't understand is if those venues shut down, the revenue that's brought into those towns goes away, because when you go to a concert, you usually go for dinner. You usually go to the bar afterwards and have drinks, and that's all revenue coming in. It's an ecosystem within the town. And when when someone just discards that and says, "Oh, that's not that important," it just speaks of their ignorance of yes, this is important. The other important thing, Josie, is this pandemic has proven how social we are. We are social beings. We need to interact with each other. We need to have things that we entertain us. That's just who we are. And when you take away concerts, when you take away music, when you take away the things that stops us from being social beings, it affects us in mental health issues and depression and other stuff as well, because we're not interacting with each other. So when someone says that the arts are not important, again, it just shows their ignorance on what is important and what is needed to be done for human beings.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's kind of, it's a strange irony in a way, in that, art is what you live for. It's, the whole art versus science. Yes, science keeps you alive, but art makes life worth living. If you know what I mean? Like, if we all stayed under lockdown forever because science says we have to, I feel like there'd be absolutely massive repercussions for people, because it's like, well, what is the point of existing right now? It was hard for everybody, and I really feel for people who live on their own. People who at least had families, had some kind of social interaction to keep some level of normality, but people who kind of lived on their own last year and weren't legally allowed to interact with humans except for when the government said so. And meanwhile, the government is breaking its own rules and getting caught out red-handed and not taking any accountability or responsibility for it. It's just, I'm all for doing the right thing and doing what's right. But, when your leaders aren't, it's a slap in the face, and quite disrespectful of everybody who's really sacrificed a lot over the past year. So it's been a hard time for everybody, I think, and I think everyone's just really, really looking forward to hopefully things getting back on track and never having to live through a pandemic again.
Yeah, I hope so too. But what is exciting is new music and the new bands like the Hot Damn, and really looking forward to more stuff. When can we expect another single, another song from you guys?
Very good question. Well, the thing is that now gigs are starting to come back. So our next few kind of catch-ups are going to be really focused on getting the live set together, ready to actually start playing. Because when we've been offered gigs with so much time off the road since we last played, we couldn't say no to the gigs. We just had to play them. Even if it's not the right thing to do from a business sense, we don't care. We need to play. So we've said yes to all the gigs that have been thrown at us, basically. And the plan will be to try and get more music out before we do that tour in December with the Dust Coda. So that's kind of the loose plan at the moment. Immediate focus on the gigs, but then getting at least an EP together before the end of the year, so that people have got a little bit of it to take home with them.
Well, Josie, I look forward to it. I can't wait for more stuff. The new song, Dance Around, is just, like I said, it's a great, fun song, and I can't wait to hear more.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Glad you're digging it, and cheers for supporting new music. It's good to be getting back out there.
Absolutely. Tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find us everywhere. We're all over the place. Where are we? We're on Instagram. It's all at the Hot Damn UK. Same for Facebook, Twitter. We are also on TikTok. I don't even know what a TikTok is, to be honest, but apparently we're there. We've got a mailing list which you can sign up to, and we'll bombard you not too regularly with a few little updates from behind the scenes. We've got a merch store that ships globally, which has more tie. You can literally be head to toe tie dye now. We have tie dye socks, pants, t-shirts, hoodies, caps, sunglasses. It's actually beyond a joke now. But it is what it is, and it's what we do, and it's how we roll. So if you fancy looking absolutely ridiculous as your reaction to the year that was, then come join the cult. We're all about it.
Well, everyone, that is Josie O'Toole from the band The Hot Damn. Like I said, the new song is Dance Around. You can find it on all their social media platforms that Josie just mentioned, also on YouTube as well. Can't wait to hear more music. So thank you again, Josie, for doing the Hook Rocks.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, everybody, I'm Jay Scott. Once again, that's Josie O'Toole from The Hot Damn. This is another great episode of The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast, our new music spotlight. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay strong, and we will talk again soon. Thank you.
She walks like she don't care. Smooth as silk, cool as air. Ooh, it makes you wanna cry. She doesn't know your name, and your heart beats like a subway train. Ooh, don't you wanna die? Ooh, don't you wanna take her? Ooh, I wanna make her go home. Maria, you gotta see her. Go ahead and sing it out of your mind. Regina, oh baby Maria, a million and one candlelight. I've seen this thing before, with my best friend and the boy next door. Ooh, full of love and full of fire.